Why does hope feel so unsafe for brilliant, high-achieving women? High achievers often repress hope, and not because they're pessimistic by nature. They're absolutely not. High achievers often repress hope not because they're pessimistic. Absolutely, they're not. They're high achieving people. They believe in themselves. They believe in something better, and they make moves to make that happen. Oftentimes, we encounter situations in life where hope feels hopeless. And it's not because we're self-sabotaging. It's because our nervous system is trying to protect us from a wound that we experienced in our past. Welcome back to the Burnout Fairy Podcast, where burnout meets boundaries, self-care is sacred, and rest is our rebellion. I was introduced to Louvie Jones, the author of The Professional Troublemaker, about a year ago at the Women's Food Service Forum. She was one of the keynote speakers, and I just related to her story so much. So I watched her TED Talk, I read her book, I listened to her book. In fact, I'm reading it with a book club we started at work last year. We're reading it together now. And she has this quote from chapter 3 of Professional Troublemaker. When we are afraid of having too much hope, what we're actually afraid of is being disappointed. We're anxious about expecting the world to gift us and show us grace, because what if we end up on our asses? So we dream small or not at all, because if we expect nothing or expect something small, we cannot be disappointed when the big things don't happen. I remember a time really early in my career, I was working full time, putting myself through college, and I was working full time, and I was told that I would get the promotion that I reasonably deserved if I had a bachelor's degree. I didn't have a degree at the time. I was completely self-taught, learned on the fly, and I thought, okay, well, that makes sense at the time to get a bachelor's degree. So I was promised a raise and a promotion and all of these things if I just got my bachelor's degree. Anyone who's been through college, whatever your situation, that's a long time commitment. It is a big energy commitment. And when you're working 12-hour days, 5 days a week, it's a lot to ask of someone. I remember being constantly tired, trying to push for this degree with the promise that it offered of a better life, of a better income, of better options, of better everything. There was so much tied up in the completion of my degree program. I was so excited when I graduated, and I was like, okay, now I can apply for that promotion. You can't always trust your coworkers to have your back, no matter what your relationship. You should always be super careful with coworkers. And I remember several months prior to me finishing my degree program, I was probably without sleep. I was probably very stressed. I was definitely stressed out. I was definitely stretched thin. I was almost at the end of this 4 or 5 year escapade just to get more money from the company that really owed it to me anyway. I was doing so much for them. I had so much responsibility. I was integral to the day-to-day operations of the company. I really deserved the promotion on merit and not a piece of paper. However, they still required it of me. There was a day I was very tired, very stressed out, and I had to fix a problem that someone else caused, and I was very scared about making the wrong decision. And I think one of the things I do when I'm stressed out is I cry. That's how my body regulates itself, is I cry. I have a moment where I allow freak out to move through my body, and that freak out comes in the form of tears. Don't necessarily get hysterical. I'm not necessarily noisy about it, but I will physically process it out loud. I am not someone who can hide how I'm feeling on my face. And while my coworkers commiserated with me and reassured me that I had been put in a really shitty situation and that I didn't deserve to be in the situation I was in, I still had to resolve that situation. And I did so. I did so quickly, efficiently, thoroughly. Like, I did a damn good job for not having the resources that I should have had. Well, one of my coworkers told the person above my boss to emphasize the stress that the department was under, told the vice president of operations or whatever, that I was so stressed out, I broke down crying. So when I finished my degree program, when I was ready for that promotion, when I was ready to have my expansive responsibilities repaid, I was denied a promotion because I was not emotionally ready for the additional responsibility. Reminder, this promotion was not coming with an expanse of responsibilities. My responsibilities, normally they do with a promotion, but my responsibilities weren't changing. I was the only person who did what I did. So they were just paying me for my contribution, really, because I was already working at that promotion level. I was already working there for years. This was just to align my title with the work I was already doing. But because I had that episode where I broke down and cried vulnerably, I was vulnerable in the office in front of my coworkers, and my coworkers were trying to use that as leverage to get our direct report into trouble, really. That ended up having super adverse effects on my ability to get that promotion, get that raise, even though I deserved it on merit, even though I'd already been doing the work. So, long story short, I stopped being as hopeful that doing A would result in getting B. And that experience taught me that just because I do the work, someone will find any reason to not follow through with their end of the bargain. I can't tell you how many times I have asked for help and people have offered help and me tried to, okay, yes, I will definitely take your help, only to be chastised for it, to be flaked on, to get excuses. Does any of this sound familiar? When we continually butt up against these experiences that reaffirm that having hope is worthless, that's the story we're going to carry. Why would we ask for help? Why would we seek validation? Why would we look for a promotion or a profession change or whatever we're dreaming? Why would we go for that when we're constantly let down by others, by our environment, by policy, by insert thing here? We dim our desires. We end up avoiding visualizing what we truly want. We end up labeling it as being realistic when really we're just afraid of being let down again. But there's a cost to denying hope. Your life is muted and maybe not as joyful. There's a sense of self-abandonment and maybe a quiet resentment. My resentment was not very quiet. I was very loudly resentful. Over time and through many hard lessons, I learned that hope could really be safe, and hope was definitely something that I could rebuild. How did I rebuild hope for myself? I had to practice becoming really clear on what it was that I desired. And when I had that clarity, I had to be really targeted and careful about who I shared that clarity with. And this was a really hard lesson to learn. I love my mom, but she's never the best person to share dreams with, because bless her, she will find the holes. Not because she's trying to tear me down or tear someone else's dreams down. It's because she's looking for the flaws in the plan so that you can adjust and prepare for those flaws. But when you grow up with someone and when I hear things from my mom, that's not the response that I have. It's always, oh, my mom is pulling me down again. My mom is dragging me. My mom is, bursting my bubble. I know she's coming from a very helpful place, but it doesn't always come across that way, right? We have to be careful who we're sharing our dreams and our hopes with, because the right people can amplify them. They can help build you up. They can help promote that sense of help. They can help you maybe lay the groundwork to seeing your dream happen. I joined a mastermind specifically for this because I wanted to leverage that tool of the mastermind to reflect my dreams back to me and to help me pave the way to make things that I wanted to manifest actually happen. It helps me having those kinds of relationships, friends that I can trust wholeheartedly to hold me accountable to my vision, having a mastermind that helps me develop the tools to do the things that I need to do, and having loved ones around me and being able to vocalize, hey, I just want you to support me. I don't want to hear the negative commentary. Having loved ones in your life that will respect that boundary is essential to helping rebuild hope. Some other tools one can use to help rebuild hope is to develop better systems of nervous system regulation. When we have had our desires sort of stepped on, when we have been let down and we're in this why try sort of mentality, having somatic tools like breathing, tapping, chanting, movement, having a therapist, having a coach, something to help you understand what your limiting beliefs are so that you can start to change the narrative in your mind and start to look for evidence of why your hope is important, of how look for evidence on how you've been validated, rather than looking for evidence about how you've been let down, because your mind will always find evidence to back up its conclusion. So change the conclusion. Use somatic practices to help you move through any feelings that come up that create resistance between the coherence between your mind and your body in challenging those limiting beliefs. Change the conclusion. One thing that I have seen my clients do is they never pause on the good stuff. When they get that promotion, when they finish that project, when they hit that goal, when they do that thing they said they've been building up for, as soon as they hit those things, they're on to the next thing on the list, whatever comes after that. Instead, pause. Really reflect on the journey that brought you to that moment. Really reflect in the joy of having arrived at your goal. It doesn't matter how long it took you. It doesn't matter how many bumps in the road that you encountered. What matters is that you hit that thing. Celebrate it. Have a ritual of self-love. Take yourself out to dinner. Get that fun treat. Get a massage. Whatever it is that lights you up, do the thing. Do that thing that helps bring joy into your body, that helps celebrate this thing that you accomplished, and that will help your system build up trust in hoping. Because when we have these pauses, when we're able to stop and pause and reflect and really have gratitude for ourselves in landing in the place where we wanted to land, accomplishing the thing that we wanted to accomplish, that brings so much more coherence to the mind-body story. Hope isn't fragile. It's a muscle, just like anything else. The more you practice holding it gently, the stronger it'll become. And your desires aren't dangerous. They're breadcrumbs that are leading you to the life that you want to live. Follow them, trust them, build them up. I would love to hear from you. What is one dream you've buried out of fear? What is one thing you've written off because you just don't feel like it's possible? You've lost hope. Let me know down below or send me a DM on Instagram. I would love to hear from you. Thank you for joining me. I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye for now.